Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Alpha Juno 1, or the Juno Uno to some. Okay, so I'm going to basically do a little tour and show you some unique features on this and stuff you can do that's quite interesting. So without further ado, let's go. So first off, let's zoom in and let's get you in there, into the screen, because this is where it all happens. This is where the magic happens. Apply some light. Right, okay. So basically this is a basic raw setup just here right now. Yep, how do you like my concert pianist skills there? Okay, so this is a basic sound. It's just a square wave. Now, as you can see on the screen, DCO range 8 feet, 16 feet. So there you go. So that's 16 feet. There's only one oscillator in this. It has two waveforms and you can mix the waveforms. It also has a sub oscillator which is just tapped off the main oscillator, so it's still the same one oscillator. The sub is just a clock divider, just clock divided down by 1 and 2 octaves. So it's basically clocked in half and then half again, depending on what setting you've got it. So I've now put that on there. So I'm going to go to parameter select, and we're going to make a little sound. DC LFO, that's just going to give you your fairground noises there. DCO envelope, that's for doing like a pitch bend, which I'll show you later. Right, these are the different types of envelopes. So this is going through the envelope generator. That's a reversed envelope. This one is a dynamic envelope, so basically for the velocity. Dynamic reversed envelope, and that's all your envelopes you've got on a DCO envelope there. So we're just going to leave it on the main one, on the standard straight through the envelope. Aftertouch, that is for, now this keyboard does not have aftertouch. The aftertouch was a feature on the Juno 2, which used the same keyboard as the D50. This one uses the same keyboard as the Juno 106, as I've just found out because I've replaced some keys from an old 106 key bed. And in fact, I replaced the whole lot because they're in much better condition than the ones that were originally on here. So yes, they all fit and they're all the same. So, and the Juno 2, which was my very first synthesizer, I replaced it with this one, and I did a trade and got some other gear, and I can't remember what it was now, but it was many years ago, and we're talking like early 90s here. Let's move on. So there's your aftertouch. The bend range, so that's 6 semitones. Bend range, right, pulse width. Okay, so basically, if I put that to 0, you get nothing. Pulse width 1 is a basic square. Pulse width 2 is, I'm not sure of the amount of pulse width, but it's a fixed duty cycle. So the duty cycle is like at 25% or something like that. I don't know exactly, don't quote me on that. It might be 25%, it might be something else, but I would say somewhere around that. Pulse width 3 is basically modulated pulse width. So that's all of the pulse, that's all of the options you've got on the pulse width. So let's stick with that for now. And then I'm going to go into the sawtooth. So that's your pulse width. That's pulse width with a basic saw, which doesn't really sound much different. The sawtooth on here, you've got various options. Now this is what makes this synthesizer absolutely unique. Very much different to any of the other synthesizers I've ever come across. No other synthesizer that I've seen has got sawtooth PWM, pulse width modulation on a sawtooth. So you've got various different strains of the sawtooth. So we're going to go for the third one, which has got a nice oscillating sawtooth. So let's go for that. We've got a sub oscillator. Now, as I was saying, you won't hear that because the sub level is down. So I'm going to put that to the max. And just bring the level down there because it's clipping a bit. Okay, so now we've got the sub oscillator on 5, which is a pulse width modulated sub 2 octaves below the original oscillator waveform, oscillator frequency, sorry. So again, this is just one oscillator that has all of these. So you're basically mixing the waveforms together, and then you've got a clock divided waveform separate to that. So that's that. So I can add noise if I want. It only goes in increments 0, 1, 2, and 3. So there's not really much you can do with that. The only way if you want a noise level at a certain level, I suppose you could work around it by changing the levels of other oscillators and whatever. So okay, this is a pulse width modulation. It's on 80. So let's have it really strong. So it's really oscillating all the way from minimum to maximum of the waveform of the duty cycle. Next up, let's change the rate. You're starting to hear that typical 90s Hoover sound. So okay, so let's leave that on there. High pass filter, again, this is like the Juno 106 and the Juno 60, where it's only got 3, it's like switched 1, 2 and 3, and that's all you've got on that, on the high pass filter. The Juno 6 is the only one in the series, the only Juno in the series that has actually got a variable high pass frequency. As I say, all the rest are switched, and this doesn't. This is the same as well. It's just basically 3 stages, because that's all Roland believed that we needed. So they didn't give us many more options. So, you know, but limitations breed creativity, so you just got to work around it. Then the VCF frequency, 127. And there's also a brilliance control. Now I'm using the alpha dial to get into each of the parameters. So I've got parameter select. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so you can see how I'm doing this. So basically I've got parameter select here. And so you've got parameter select value. So now go to the next parameter. So I want to parameter select the next one, which is resonance. Now what I'll do, I'll come out of turn the resonance right the way up, but it doesn't self-oscillate, so got a nice liquid filter there. I'm not going to use any VCF keyboard or after VCA level, that's fine. Digital, which means, oh sorry, not digital, dynamic gate. So I'll show you the options you've got on this. You've got the basic envelope, so the VCA envelope is just going basically straight through the envelope. That one's gated, so it just basically key on, key off, makes the VCA open and close, like this. Then you've got dynamic envelope, which means your velocity will make a difference. Let me just come in there. Now you can see how I'm doing the editing. It's, right, so yeah. Here we go. So you've got the dynamic envelope, and you can hear the envelopes open at the end. The release is open. So that is dynamic gate. So it's gated again, just the same, but it's dynamic, so the key velocity is going to make a difference. That's all the options you've got on the VCA, and I think that's the maximum amount of options you have for envelope control from various parts of the synth. VCA aftertouch, as we know, we can't use that. So chorus, this is where the magic happens in any Juno. So let's put the chorus on, and let's put the chorus rate up. There's your Hoover sound. But to make it really effective, what you need to do is do your DCO envelope. Let's bring some of that in. Let's bring it out. So we bring the DCO envelope up. It's a digitally controlled oscillator. It's an analog oscillator, but it's digitally controlled. So, which is great, you know, because it's not going to go out of tune, and it's still analog, so it's still fat. And so let's bring. That's how you get your Hoover sound, is by messing about with the envelopes and stuff. So now I've got this, so let's see if we can change that into maybe a pad. See what we can do with that. So really I want to use the VCA. I don't want a VCA envelope on that. I want to actually use the envelope. Sorry, I have to bring that down. The speaker's clipping a bit. So yeah, so how about we have that, and we use a bit of the VCF as well. We use the VCF envelope. So it's already using the envelope, so all we need to do is reduce the value of the initial value. So we don't want too much VCF. Just want a slight bit, just a bit. And now to change the envelope so we can get a nice pad sound, because yeah, this is basically the sawtooth on this is the forerunner of the super saw. Okay, let's change the PWM and let's lower the PWM rate. And so we'll see if maybe not so much chorus either. So we'll roll the chorus back a little bit. Okay, and let's go for the filter and get a bit of resonance in there, get some harmonics going. I don't have any fancy editors or hardware PG programmers or anything like that for this, so it's all going to be done through the little editing screen here, which isn't too dissimilar to wallpapering the hallway through the letterbox. those lovely pad sounds you can make with this as well. So let's go in a little bit further. Let's close that envelope down and let's make it nice and rigid again, because there's another feature that I'd like to show you. Keep everything assigned to the envelope, but I'll just change the values of the envelope. So you've got nice instant, and what's that one? Why is it on 72? Must be on full blast. Yeah. Okay, so there's your release there. Okay, to make it interesting, let's have a bit more VCF envelope. Where is it? Where are you? VCF envelope. The amount is 53. Okay, so a bit more release, just a little bit, just enough to give it that. Because I want to show you another feature in a moment, once I've got a nice little sound going. Okay, I'm gonna bring the chorus rate up. This is something that the other Junos in the series don't have. They don't have a chorus rate, they've just got fixed chorus 1, 2, and when you press both of the buttons together, this happens on all of the Junos apart from this one, you get another chorus rate. You get a high speed one when you push down both of the chorus buttons on the Juno 6, 60 and 106. And when I say all the other Junos, I'm talking about the retro series. I have no idea about the new ones because I never owned one. Okay, so we're going to go into pulse width modulation. Now there's something quite interesting on this synthesizer, which is the chord memory. And if you've seen the new Behringer synthesizer, you'll notice they have a chord memory on that. They've copied some of the features off this. They didn't copy, as far as I'm aware, the pulse width modulated sawtooth. Now that is the one feature that sets this synth apart by miles to any other synth, any other polysynth. No other polysynth that I know of has a pulse width sawtooth. If you know of any, please leave comments in. Please leave a comment below, and I'll be really interested to know what synthesizer actually does this. I'm not interested in software, not interested in emulations of what this does or anything like that. I'm talking about hardware. So yeah, if there's any hardware modules or synths that you know of that actually do the pulse width saw, I'd love to hear about it, and I'd like to know how well it does a Hoover sound. Here we have now basically you've got a chord memory. Now with a chord memory, I'm going to actually write a chord, it's easier. So I can just basically hold down a chord, and while it's written now, so let's get the VCF going on this. So your typical 90s sort of stuff, you can write another chord in there, you can put in maybe that chord there. That sounded awful because it's got the pitch envelope on there. So let's find a sound. Okay, that's going to be really loud, so sorry about that. Okay, that's a pretty crap chord, so let's write the chord again. Let's write another chord. You've got the tone modification buttons here for simple editing. When I was in the parameter and value, that's the full edit. That's basically everything that the Juno has to offer is underneath these buttons here. But this is just basic effects, so if you just want to bring the brilliance up. And what happens with that is if it gets to the point of the filters completely open and you're still turning the dial, what will happen is then it will open the envelope as well. So it sort of does two jobs. So there's sort of a bit like a macro buttons on here. Yeah, so you've got the envelope time. You've got just basic controls of, you know, there's your filter, there's your envelope, your modulation, depth and rate, and that's pretty much it, you know, that's all she wrote. So yeah, let's write that nice minor chord that I had in there, because that old school minor chord, come on. Ah, right, go back to the, right, the chord. Okay, so it was just a basic minor chord, wasn't it? So how about right up there? Okay, so that's pretty much it really. I haven't really got much to say about, much more to say about it really. I'm sure there'll be some things that I think of after I've finished the video and stuff like that, but that is pretty much it. You've got all your classic sounds. Let's do some classic sound. Right, so the original Hoover was the Memory 86 What The, and this is what it sounds like. So without the chord memory on. Okay, let's bring the volume up. And that's the preset. That's where this whole thing started. So Mentasm, tracks like Mentasm. I believe that the track Mentasm, because like later on in the track you can start to hear the resonance coming up, and it's definitely the Juno doing the resonance. It's not an external filter or anything, because I know that filter. I've had this synth so long, I know that filter inside out. It's definitely the Juno filter, so I would imagine he's either used system exclusive, like the old Cubase 2 had mixer maps, and you could send system exclusive backwards and forwards to the synth, and you could record it in. You just moved all the sliders and stuff in real time, and then record it into the actual sequence, which was absolutely brilliant. And I don't know why they don't do that on sequencers now. I believe Logic had it. It was is it Sound Diver or something like that they had, but now you don't really get that feature. You've got basically, you can draw on continuous controllers, and that's it. That's all you can do, is just basically draw it on like a waveform inside the inside your tracks and stuff like that. That's all you can do. With the with this, it actually had a full screen editor, and you could basically just pull the stuff up and down. Like you can change the filter, the resonance, so you could record in a filter bit and then bring in the resonance up and down, and then you could bring in maybe octave switch, so you're going through the octaves, and you just throw in the sound all over the place, and if you've got a bit of delay on the sound, it sounds really, really nice. So basically that's how the Mentasm sound came to be. It's basically this. And to make it straight, all you have to do is turn your DCO envelope off. So then you've got audio mount. And you also have to make it gated. So you VCA envelope, you basically switch the and the filter as well. Yeah, the filter on the Hoover sound is beautiful. You start resonating it. Let's bring the resonance. Anyway, less of that. That's all a thing of the past. So yeah, this is the machine that made the Hoover sound and its classic sound, but it doesn't stop there. You can make some wonderful sounds with it. Here's a few sounds that I've made in the past. Sorry about the clipping there. That's so it's really, really nice for pads. Very, very underrated synth. I would say if you haven't got a Juno in your setup, this is the one to buy. For a start, it's the cheapest out there. 106 is a change in hands for around £800. They've come down a bit since the boutique Juno came out. There was a JU06, which is basically a 106 in a mini thing. This is the most featured Juno out of the whole lot, and if they made a boutique one of this, that's what they should have done. And if Behringer and Midas, because it's really both companies, it's not out yet, it's due out very soon, but they've got a synth coming out and they've showed you all the features on it, and I've looked very hard, but they have not mentioned the sawtooth pulse width, which is an absolute essential to make that Juno, Alpha Juno sound. You know, that is one thing that sets this apart from every other polysynth. Even the Jupiter 8 does not have pulse width saw. You know, no other synth that I know of has that. And the thing is, the oscillator is the source of every sound on a synthesizer. You know, whether it's an oscillator or whether it's a recorded sound, you know, like whatever. But it's the source. It's the very beginnings. It's the fundamentals. What sits right at the start of any sound that you make on a synthesizer. It starts at the oscillator. Particularly in hardwired synths like this. I'm not talking modular stuff because you can do what the hell you want on those. The engine in this is amazing. Even though it's one oscillator, it is bigger sounding than 2 oscillator synths, and I don't care what anybody says, it is. It's huge in comparison to most of the stuff that's going around, or was at the time. Okay, right, I think I'm going to conclude that review. Okay then, well, thanks ever so much for watching the Juno Uno. Okay, bye bye for now.